A basement of La Penta. This is WICR.
Hello, Iona College. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe back again, going with the Week 12 NFL picks. Obviously, last night, the Thursday night matchup is one that I don't think anybody had right. The Oakland Raiders finally getting their first win of the season. Let's be honest, folks. We all knew that the Raiders weren't going to lose every game. It is extremely difficult to lose every single game in the season. Of course, my Detroit Lions were able to do it a couple seasons back, but it is very, very difficult to do. You just need that 1 week, everything really to go right. And for the Raiders last night, I think that was the case. Now, the Chiefs really did have some significant opportunities in that game. They really did kind of control a lot of the momentum in that game in the second half, but you give the Raiders a lot of credit because offensively, they ran the ball very well. You got to give Marcel Reese a lot of credit. A guy who's just a tough guy who plays every position, catches the ball well in the backfield, just tough, runs the ball, head down. And, I mean, you really see the decline out of Maurice Jones-Drew and Darren McFadden, which is a shame because, I mean, those guys have been very solid running backs. It's just they've been especially McFadden's been dinged up his whole career, and I think that's really wearing him down now. But you give Carr a lot of credit because I think the kid has got some potential in him. I really do. I mean, when you listen to him after the game, I mean, the guy just wants to win, and he finally got that win. You saw how much it meant to him. So it's definitely something, a word of encouragement there for Carr, because for a guy like that showing that kind of energy and that just commitment to want to get the win, it was good to see. So the Raiders, we will not have a team who loses every game. We knew they were going to get a win eventually, and they did. But this weekend, I've got to be honest, there's some tough games this week, and there's some great matchups as usual, but there's some pretty tough ones. Starting off like it, the Cleveland Browns and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I'm going to be honest, I really have no faith in any team in the NFC South, not one. If I had to pick one team in that division who I did have a little faith in, I guess it would be the Saints or the Falcons, just because I think they have established quarterbacks. But even with that notion, I mean, the two of them just really, both teams haven't shown you any reason to believe in them. Now, Atlanta is the home team here, so that weighs in their favor a little bit here. Cleveland, too. I think we were all on the Cleveland train, and then last week they lose at home to the Texans pretty handily. They've had these weird stretches where they just can't get anything going on offense, so I really don't like this matchup that much at all. I think you've got to give Atlanta a little bit of an edge at home, being just by the fact that they're the home team here, but I don't have much faith in either team here. I have down right now the Cleveland Browns, but the more I think about it, on the air, I'm making the switching to the Atlanta Falcons. I just think at home, this is a pretty even matchup between teams, so you give the home team the edge here, going with the Atlanta Falcons. Then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Chicago Bears. Now, I think Tampa Bay kind of came out of nowhere and surprised us all last week with that win against the Redskins, coming off their bye. So Tampa Bay, I still don't think is a very good team. Chicago's a mess too. I mean, they did get a win last week against the Vikings. Jay Cutler still throws the interceptions, but I just think the offensive talent is too much for the Buccaneers to handle. The Bears are home here. They've got the weather, which will be in their favor. I think the Bears will get a second win in a row against not a very good Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Then the Houston Texans and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this is an interesting one as well because the Texans getting a nice road win against the Browns last week. Ryan Mallett, you've got to give him credit. I mean, he looked very sharp in that game. I mean, from what I was watching of him, he looked very firm in the pocket, moving around, threw the ball very comfortably. I mean, he looked like, he was been waiting for that opportunity for a while, and he did not disappoint. He looked pretty sharp in that game. Cincinnati, I am still not too sold on. I really am not. I mean, they did get a big win last week, but even with that, they still have shown you against the better teams, especially on the road, they have struggled. I'm going with the Houston Texans here. I think defensively, Houston has been outstanding. J.J. Watt has been sensational this year. I mean, game after game, making play after play. He has been terrific. So I'm going to go with the Houston Texans here. I think It'll be a close matchup, but I think you just give the Texans a little bit of an edge, especially in the defensive department. I think Andy Dalton on the road hasn't done much to impress me. Going with Houston. Then you've got, this is one of the better matchups of the weekend, the Detroit Lions and the New England Patriots. Now, obviously, right now, the Patriots are playing just out of their minds. Probably most people consider the best team in the NFL right now. Detroit has been very solid as well, especially defensively. They're not beating themselves, getting penalties. They're a very fundamentally sound defense right now. I mean, they're making the correct plays. They're not beating themselves. It's on offense. I think it will come to a point in this game where they're going to need to get points quickly, and I'm not sure if they can do that. You see, especially, there's a trend with the Lions offense. In the first quarter, they usually are able to get a couple drives, put maybe a score or two on the board. The second and third quarters for the Lions have been miserable. They have not been able to generate an ounce of offense during those stretches and games. The fourth quarter, you give them credit. When they've needed big plays and they've needed to get scoring drives in the fourth quarter, they've done it. So the Lions have a lot of good elements to their team. It's just those little stretches in the second and third quarter that worry me. Now, I think we're all going with New England at home, but the thing that we want to watch with the Lions here to see if they're the real deal or not is how well can they contain the Patriots. Can they keep this a very low-scoring game? If they can do that, they'll hang around till the end, and I think that's what we're seeing here. I think it's going to be a very close game until the very end, and then Tom Brady will find a way to get that winning drive, but I think we're going to look at a close game here. It should be a good test for a Lions team that's been very solid this season. Then the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. Speaking just a minute ago about who we consider the best team in the NFL, I think right now we all put the Packers right behind the Patriots. The Vikings, pretty good defensive team. They are at home. Offensively, Teddy Bridgewater hasn't been bad. I mean, they're a little bit slow and methodical, that offense. I'm not sure it's really Norv Turner's type of thing. I think he's kind of learning on the fly because Teddy Bridgewater is not really his prototypical quarterback for a Norv Turner offense. But I do like the Packers here. They've been playing tremendous. Their streak will continue, and they'll get another win going to 8-3. Then the Tennessee Titans and the Philadelphia Eagles. And let's be honest, that Eagles game was just atrocious. I still think defensively, this Eagles team has tons of holes on it. I mean, Mark Sanchez, you give him credit the first week on Monday Night Football, but it was a disaster last week. I think that they will get a win, though, against the Tennessee Titans team. But don't sleep on Tennessee because they gave Pittsburgh a very good fight on Monday Night Football this week. I mean, you look at them. Ken Whisenhunt is a very good coach. He's going to get his guys in prepared. They're going to be prepared for this game. I just think the execution of the Eagles will be too much. There's too much firepower for the Eagles, but it will be interesting, but Eagles getting a pretty easy one. Then the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts. You don't really need to put deep analysis into this game. Andrew Luck against the Jaguars at home. You take the Colts all day of the week. Then the St. Louis Rams and the San Diego Chargers. Now, this is a very interesting game because I think everybody's initial reactions just go Chargers, Chargers, Chargers. But the Rams have had some very big wins against a lot of great teams. I mean, last week against Denver, they beat San Francisco. They beat Seattle. The Rams, I mean, personnel-wise, have a very good team. If they had a good quarterback there, I mean, Sam Bradford's been out the whole year. They had a long time with Austin Davis. Now they have Sean Hill back at quarterback. So this Rams team's capable of beating anybody. They really are. Every week, you can't come unprepared to play this team because they will beat you. They have great defensive talent. They put great pressure on the quarterback, which is why I think it's going to give the Chargers a lot of problems. Even with the Chargers at home, I think the Rams have an outstanding defensive line. The Chargers' offensive line has not looked too sharp recently. We see Phillip Rivers might be dealing with a little bit of nagging injuries. That fact alone should really concern the Chargers, but I think the Chargers being home last week against the Raiders, that shaky win off the bye, is a little bit of a wake-up call for them. I am going with the Chargers, but I think this is a very close game. This next one is a game that I really struggled with, the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Seahawks being the home team now. The Cardinals have been one of the stories of the year. The Cardinals actually the first team to hand Seattle a loss in their building in the Russell Wilson era. So this is a team that's not fazed by that crowd. Arizona's going to come in there and be prepared to play. I mean, they could beat them at their place. So I think this is going to be very interesting there. I'm going to go with the Seahawks, though. I think at home, they really need to win right now to keep pace. I think the Cardinals, it's going to be an extremely close game as we usually see with them. But I think Seattle being home, I think this is going to be a little bit tough for Drew Stanton to handle here. But it's going to be a close game going with Seattle. Then you have Denver and Miami, another interesting matchup. The Denver Broncos coming off the loss to the Dolphins. I think here you go with Denver being home. But Miami's going to give them a fight. Miami's been playing very well right now. I think they've kind of figuring out who they want to be defensively, offensively. I think they know what they want to do now. And that's going to definitely keep this game close. But Denver, it was a wake-up call last week. They really need to start to figure things out. They're going to get a win at home here. Now, this next one is going to be ugly. San Francisco and the Redskins. Now, for this one, I'm going with San Fran. The Redskins are horrendous. They really are. I mean, they have so many problems defensively. Offensively, I don't like them at all. Robert Griffin III and his teammates are quarreling, calling each other out. There's a lot of disharmony on this team. I think it's a bad situation. I think the San Francisco 49ers keep on rolling, get a very easy win against just a mess of a Redskins team. The Sunday night game, unfortunately for Giants fans, I don't think that it's going to go your way. The Cowboys coming off the bye. I mean, they just do so many things well. They run the ball well. They have great receivers. Tony Romo's been playing very well. And they don't make a lot of mistakes on defense. They cleaned it all up. The Giants, I'm just going to be honest, they're not a good football team. I don't want to put all this blame on Eli and everyone else. They're just not very good. They don't have a lot of talent on this roster. You could say what you want about Tom Coughlin, but there's just not a lot of talent. They're not good. The Cowboys coming off the bye, an easy win. Now, we're in luck because of the snow in Buffalo. We get 2 Monday night games, the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. Now, initially I went right with Buffalo because they were the home team in this case. This is in a different location now, so that changes things a little bit. I still like Buffalo, though. I think this is a pretty close game, however you cut it. But I think Buffalo is just a little bit better than the Jets are. Not by much, but I think Buffalo gets the win on Monday night here. And then the premier Monday night game that we've had for all along, the Baltimore Ravens, the New Orleans Saints. Like I said at the beginning of the top of the show, I have no faith in any teams in the NFC South. I really don't. I'm going with the Saints here just by the fact that they're the home team, but we've seen more and more that this has been really not a big determination in these games. I think Baltimore will give them a very close game. I have the final score 30-27, the Saints' favor, but I just don't have any faith in the Saints. I really don't. I think the Ravens are a very sound team. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes. They're going to make this a very tough game. And Drew Brees cannot turn the ball over because if the Saints start turning the ball over, this is just going to turn out to be another disaster. He's got to be laser focused, get in rhythm early, and they will be fine and get the win. But definitely keeping your eye on it. That is going to do it for the Week 12 NFL picks. We've been rolling along the last couple weeks. Haven't had a losing week, and I can't even remember now. So the picks have been stabilized. Things are going well. Enjoy the games this weekend, folks. I will be back on Monday. Everyone have a great weekend.
Celebrate the USFL's 25th anniversary with this fantastic collector's magazine for the holidays. The USFL, the Rebel League that the NFL didn't respect but fear. This must-have features interviews with players and coaches like Bobby Hebert, Marv Levy, and much more. Hundreds of photos will take you back to the 80s when Donald Trump was just an emerging name in pop